Good afternoon and welcome to the latest Ivors Academy Youth Network Presents webinar. Sorry about the delay, I've had a few technical problems this afternoon, but I'm really delighted to be able to continue our series of creators conversations and have the opportunity to feature members of our newly established Ivors Academy Youth Network Council. As the title suggests, these webinar sessions are a relaxed and informal conversation between creators, revealing insights into the creative talent of our Youth Network Council members and highlighting key industry issues which they are passionate about. This conversation this afternoon is of course an introduction to our newly appointed media composer representatives, Joe Ranger, Jake Morgan, Ellie Parker and Tom Prince. Together with their other Youth Council colleagues, they are a direct link for our young creator community in the UK, straight to the top of the Academy. In the host chair this afternoon is Ivors Academy Director and Chair of the Media Committee, Mark Ayres. Mark's history with the Ivors Academy started in the mid-1990s, when he joined the Association of Professional Composers. He continued his membership through various transitions from APC to BASCA, and now as the Ivors Academy. Mark was then appointed as a director in 2014, and then chosen as chair of the Ivors Academy's Media Committee in 2016. Mark has worked throughout TV and film, most notably for the BBC Radiophonic Workshop, creating incidental music for Sylvester McCoy's incarnation of Doctor Who in the 1980s. As well as being a traditional composer for film and TV, Mark is also a sound engineer and mixer and master engineer too. But enough about him. I'm delighted to welcome our guests this afternoon, Joe Ranger, Jake Morgan, Ellie Parker, Tom Prince, and of course, Mark Ayres. Hi guys.
Hello, Wesley. Welcome. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. Just had a little bit of technical issues there. I told you I would.
Rock and roll.
But I'm here. Hopefully it's going to be as stable as possible this afternoon. Hello, Mark. Are you there too?
I'll do the obviously and unmute. Yes, hello, I'm here. Hey.
Fantastic. Good to see you. Good
it's
to see
live,
you.
Kelly, isn't it? There you go.
Yes, I know. Before the conversation starts, I want to let you know that there is a Q&A at the end of our session here. So I would encourage all of you who are watching and listening to send in your questions for Joe, Jake, Ellie, Tom, and Mark via the Q&A function on your webinar screens. Now, I'll hand over to Mark. Mark Ayres, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Wes. Hello and welcome everyone watching and welcome to our panelists. This is very exciting for me. As Wes intimated, I've been a member of this organisation for an awful long time, and it's fantastic that we now have this Youth Network Council. It really is very exciting for all of us, and I hope it's going to be very exciting for you too. So let's start off. Well, I've been doing this for 35 years. You're just starting out. How did you start out? How did you find yourself into this business? Do you want to kick off, Ellie?
Okay, so I was around 16, and because I had originally been a musician, and I thought I was going to go into kind of like the musical career, just playing an instrument. But I started to not enjoy it as much. I started to prefer composing rather than performing. So I went to a course for the youth composers. It's called Sound and Music. And I was around 16 at the time. And I was put into the world group. So I had to compose music for the world category. And I think just meeting other composers and kind of developing my skills as a composer, that's kind of what led me to want to become a composer.
And why particularly media? Is that what you're concentrating on? Is that something you're particularly excited about?
For media, yeah. It was the second time that I got to go. I was put into the media group and I had to compose the music for an extract from The Life of Pi. And I think it was composing the music, it was challenging, just being in kind of like that environment, having a certain deadline of over a week, writing music, scoring it, then working with musicians, recording it, sound mixing and everything. I was like at the time, this is kind of a bit overwhelming, but then afterwards when you see the finished project, it's like, okay, I think I like this, I want to do more of it. So I think that was definitely the point. I was like, yeah, I want to go into media for sure.
You were 16 and you were writing for musicians at that point.
Yeah, it was hard,
Really?
but they were nice, so it was all good. It was all good.
It is very exciting, and I think about media music because there's so many different disciplines you have to be across. Joe,
Yeah, so I just realised I'm getting some thunder and lightning now, but anyway, good moment.
make sure you sample it.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I was raised very orchestral tradition. I was playing piano very young age, and then I started playing trombone as well. Playing from orchestras quite a young age. I mean, everyone in my family plays a musical instrument and makes music. And I think my, as a child, I was like, I either want to, be a musician or I want to be an actress or something. And I realized, hang on a minute, you can make music for media and make a career out of that. And my mind was blown. My heart was set on that really from quite a young age. And I did undergrad, I did in music, and then I eventually did a postgrad in composing for screen. And yeah, I've just sort of ended up here really. It was a fairly straightforward path. Can't quite pin down when exactly I wanted to start writing music for media, but I always felt like I wanted to do that, and it sort of led me here really.
Great. Tom?
I knew that was coming. Right.
I have to be prepared.
Yeah. So I didn't really have my parents aren't really very musical, so I haven't really been brought up in a musical family. But the only thing that I seem to have took to, like when I was 5 or 6, I was rubbish at English, rubbish at maths, rubbish at anything that you could name. But then parents were like, "Oh, do you want some piano lessons?" I was like, "Yeah, go on then. That sounds all right." And so I took to that, and then that's without. Ever since they've been pushing me that way. Go on, do some music. You might earn some money off it. And then from there, I did your usual stuff. Did your music GCSEs, music A levels. But then after that, I decided to go. Well, okay, because the music A levels that I was taking wasn't much about business, so I went off to do a college course that covered the business side, as well as the performance side, and that's where I started to get into doing music for media. Um, some gaming students wanted me to do some music for their game. Somebody was making a small anime, so I did the theme for that. And then from there, parents said, right, okay, you need a job now. So I went to work for Sainsbury's, and then I just poured all of my savings into trying to do some composition courses with ThinkSpace. From there, the premium ones, and then now I've moved up to doing a postgraduate.
That's great. Jake?
Sweet. Well, when I was a kid, I suppose I wanted to be a rock star, as most 10-year-old boys want. So I kind of didn't know what I was getting into. Media music kind of found me. My brother studied film, and at one point, he needed music for his short film. So my first film that I scored was a rom-com starring my granny, who falls in love with the security guard in her apartment building. So I went from heavy metal to sort of saxophone, bum chicka wah wah music, and I thought, this is just great. I want to do this. And from there, it's been an adventure.
It is great because you don't know what you're going to get asked for. I mean, that's fun.
Exactly.
And it's interesting. You've all come up through a different background. Some of you have some formal training. Some of you, start with piano lessons and then work up and get yourself formal training later on. So there's no one way into this industry. And I think that's very much something we all have to get across is people say, how do you become a media composer? Well, none of us really know because we've all sort of found our way into it by various means, fair or foul, I suppose. So was there any particular, I mean, some of you, presumably the films, television, games, was there any particular score or any particular music you heard or saw and you thought, I'd like to do that? Take your pick, who starts. Ellie, go on.
Okay, so this was when I was very little, so it wasn't a deciding point in kind of, I want to do this because I was so young being a film composer, but it's resonated with me, this music from then till now, but basically the music from BBC Down to Earth. So it was this TV show, and I keep on asking, have you guys watched it? Has anyone watched it? And everyone's like, no, I haven't heard of it. But I'm like, and I'm like, if you know it, please watch it. Or it's a good film with good music. And I just remember feeling very, very emotional from a young age because of that music and the storyline and the acting. So, and I rewatched it recently, actually. Still the same emotions that I got from the music the first time I watched it, I can say. So I think that was definitely one of the inspirations now I can say that I would like to go into film for sure.
Interesting.
I think for me, I'd have to say probably Harry Gregson Williams and John Powell's music to Shrek. Just because I just love the way that they used the melody, and they used all these sort of almost cliches really, and of fantasy and that kind of thing, and just played with it and had a load of fun with it. And yeah, it really just struck me, and how much fun it sounded, as well as just how beautiful and how clever, or how fitting it was to the screen, just how much fun. It just seemed, yeah, really fun.
It's hard to pick one really, because there was a few. There was like was already been mentioned, Shrek, How to Train Your Dragon. Then there was Inception, the theme for Inception, Pirates of the Caribbean. Yeah, they all kind of led me in that direction. So yeah, I don't know. They're just very. I kind of, because I came from a classical background, I kind of thought, is this classical music? Does this count as classical music? And then that's how I moved across. So yeah.
For me, it was kind of more a moment that I realized that there was music in movies. My dad took me to a concert of just the music for Harry Potter, and at that point I was kind of thinking I could see the story while I was listening to the music. So I think that was kind of a defining score for me, just to know that music for films was an actual profession and existed, and from then I started noticing music in every film I watched.
There is that point, isn't there? I think when you suddenly realise exactly, if you're of that kind of mindset, exactly how much effect the music and the sound is having on you as a piece of storytelling. It becomes, I think, very compelling to be involved in that process. It certainly did for me. Way back in 1972 it was that I realised it, watching Doctor Who. But you suddenly realise that it is more, very much more than what you're seeing. It is down to what you're hearing that so much informs what you do, what you enjoy, and what you appreciate. Certainly.
And actually, since I've told my family that that I do film music for a living, they now notice music in film. I'm sure you guys are all the same. But yeah, now they are starting to get that sort of epiphany and seeing all the seeing how the effect music has on the picture.
How about your compositional style? I mean, how did you each start off? I mean, it's a very difficult question. How did you sort of start off stylistically, and how are you changing? How is what you do affecting the way you write and the way you work through your style?
I think in my case, because my very first project was, well, strangely enough, it was actually a Doctor Who based web series that I got involved with. So I think naturally, and I just got my first DAW. So naturally, trying out all the different synths in there, naturally it just ended up turning into something quite orchestral synth hybrid. And I think, yeah, I think I've just stuck with that mostly. I certainly developed it further, but I've tried to sort of expand on that more, with some projects going more towards the synth end of the spectrum, some projects more towards the orchestral end of the spectrum. But no, I think it's quite telling really that first project was a bit of synth orchestral hybrid, and I've really enjoyed that. So I've sort of stuck mainly. That's my sort of central area of comfort, really.
I want to pick that up, Ellie.
So because originally I started playing the piano, I kind of learned how to write music just by hand, kind of like the old school style way. So I think just being able to see what I write, that makes it a lot easier for me to then kind of go on and do little orchestrations for it and then put it to picture and everything like that. So I think that's the way I still like to work, for sure.
Jake or Tom?
You want to catch that, Tom?
Oh, all right then. If you yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting question. I started two compositions at the same time. So I did a little bit of composition with my piano teacher back when I was 12, and that was focused mainly around the similar kind of style as Ludovico Einaudi at the time. Quite minimalist, quite relatively simple. But also, does anybody remember the Magic Music Maker? No, okay. So this was back when you bought programs on a CD, and you popped it in, and you could.
Well,
buy
some of us remember way before that.
Oh, well, yeah, all right. Yeah. So, and it came with a few samples. So I just started by arranging the samples, and then I go, oh, I could put that there. I could make that different there, and yeah. Music theory was never really my strong suit, but it's becoming useful, more and more useful, because I also did that. That was the first way that I did my first composition, was writing it down. So yeah, my style's kind of in both, really, a bit split.
Yeah, for me it was actually, I think my musical style is constantly evolving. From project to project, there's usually something that I try differently, and if it sticks, if it works, I'm going to adopt that for again. I usually find myself importing like previous projects into my current project for whatever I'm making, if I found a particular sound or something that I liked. So I mean, I'm kind of on the long road to discovering my unique style, but it's evolving at the moment.
So that's interesting. I mean, you say you're on the long road. I think that is something that will very enjoyably, if you get it right, take your entire life. It really will. But are you? I mean, you're obviously very conscious of that. Are the rest of you very conscious of the fact that you are developing a style? Are you trying to avoid developing a style? How's that going for the others of you?
It's an interesting topic. I was just a little bit of a backstory. I was at a what's it called? One of those convention things where people go and they go, oh, hello, that kind of thing. And a BBC producer walked past, and I just called him over and I said, oh, I'll give this a listen. And would you be honest with me? Would you tell me if there's anything unique about this? And so he gave it a listen, and then he turned to me and he said, no. So I was a little crushed, but I was good. It was good that he was honest, because from that point I was able to go, okay, I need to start being a bit more unique. How can I be unique? And so yeah, and a lot of us are still, I think, on that quest, and I've definitely got room for improvement, I think. So yeah, but hopefully I've managed to start my style off anyway, but I don't know what anybody else thinks.
I think one really great piece of advice I was given was thought was that it's good to be unique and everything, but uniqueness without authenticity is pointless, really. The focus shouldn't be on just being unique because you need to set yourself apart. You need to just be authentically yourself, and that will result in uniqueness. And you can spend all this time trying to think, oh, no one's done that, but unless it really sounds like you're not going to get, and you really enjoy it, you're just not going to throw yourself into it, and you're not going to be able to say, yes, that's mine, I'm really proud of that. So I think, yeah.
Good answer. Ellie?
Yeah, I think in terms of finding your own style, it's kind of like, as you said before, a life journey to finding your own style. Different projects require different scores, as we all know, and each is like a blank sheet of paper, like you're going to write on. For me, I think I did a film composition course at university, and because the main the way we were assessed was having a bunch of clips to score the music for, and then we would have our lecturers assess those clips. My style sort of became a bit lost because they were so different, like each of the clips, that, okay, I had to write music suitable to the clips, any music which was suitable. So in a sense, I found myself, it was good practice for sure, but I ended up kind of losing what I like to compose music for. So I think right now I'm kind of in this step back stone, just write music without picture even, and see if your style can develop from there. So
It's a difficult point. Yeah. Sorry, Jake. Yeah, carry on.
I was just that's a good point, because our job is to write to a brief, usually, and only the sort of very experienced and that have a reputation are hired for their unique style. So I think it comes sort of as a development in the life of a composer, nearly, because you have to write a brief to gain a reputation, and then with that reputation slowly sort of start writing what you want.
That's the thing, isn't it? You've got to be able to turn your hand to pretty much anything, but it's still nice if you have your own signature. But you listen to, John Williams, for instance, every score is different, but every score sounds like John Williams, and he's brilliant at whatever he does. So he's uniquely John Williams, but he's a bit of Korngold, a bit of this, a bit of that, and a bit of himself, and a bit of real melting pot. And what he's so adept at doing is bringing this all together and still putting his stamp on it and doing it brilliantly every time.
That's why he's the best.
One of the very best, and people like Bernard Herrmann and Jerry Goldsmith, exactly the same, able to do something which was signature theirs, but still everything fitted what they were hired to do. Tariq, is it now the time to maybe listen to some of these lovely people's music? Now we've been talking about their style and what they do. Is that possible? Or has Tariq disappeared? Because we are having some technical problems today, as you may have spotted.
Wesley's just disappeared.
No,
and I was going to ask him about his musical style as well.
Wesley plays the flute and very, very well.
Okay.
So, okay, let's carry on. And
Oh.
Put your hand up if this is yours. Straight on to the next one, I think. That's great. Thanks. Some fantastic work there, and it's. I think we're in safe hands going forward. Some really great ideas. And what I love about all of them is really strong melodic sense in all of them as well. I think there's all really real great feeling of melody. And I think melody, personally, I think melody is something that film music has been lacking in the last few years. I think so many filmmakers are so busy sort of writing short, quick scenes with quick cuts that we don't get time for that big soaring, Lawrence of Arabia type melody, which just makes you go, way, I like this, and so it really makes me feel great to hear so many great tunes coming out. How do you work? I mean, do you tend to work in a box, or do you use live musicians when you can? How do you go about that? I mean, it's obviously difficult when you're just starting out, maybe the budgets aren't so big, but how do you work that balance? Who wants to kick off? Jake?
Sure, why not? Yeah, I'd say probably about 10% of the projects that I work on, has a budget for live musicians, and then I'm pretty much the one playing in the other ones. So I love working with live musicians. It's one of my favorite parts of the job. Hearing orchestras in particular, or a big group of musicians, just hearing it all recorded in the same room, different people, different approaches, and even that sort of imperfections, that we don't get with samples. I'm inspired by that a lot of the time. So yeah, I mean, live musicians whenever I can, if there's budget,
Yeah, I'm trying to start to do a bit more recording with live musicians. Mostly, just before now, it's just been a bit difficult with budget and time restraints, and just the process of even if it's not necessarily taking the time out to record, it's taking the time out to orchestrate your work and get that all nicely sent to the musicians. But no, I'm doing a little bit more at the moment, so hopefully that can continue a bit more. But yeah, it is really difficult when you do write mostly orchestral stuff and you just don't have the budget to pay for any more than a couple of musicians at most, really.
But it's very exciting, I think, if you do something like yours, which was sort of very heavy electronic sound design, to get a real instrument over the top of it, which just, live instrument just suddenly lifts it into a whole new world. So I always think if you can even afford just one instrumentalist, it's worth doing. But budgets, Ellie?
Yeah, similar to Joe. In terms of I want to start recording more, but obviously because of COVID and everything, and it's not really practical at the moment. Although with lockdown kind of easing, it is starting to become more like you can do it more. But I think right now, I'm gonna focus on mixing and mastering a little bit more, just using samples, getting used to them, and for the demo purposes, and then hopefully go from there with the live musicians as well.
At the moment, can you hear me? Is it on?
No, it is on.
Okay. Yeah. At the moment, I'm almost totally in the box. At the moment, I mean, you can see harp, cello, baran, piano. I use all of this to make sure that it's actually playable, so that I can pop it in and then it'll come out sounding all right. Because this room is, I don't know if you can hear it, but it's not the best. There's a shower on the other side of this wall, so if somebody's having a shower, you can hear it. Or I've got my brother; he's got a music room up directly above, so you can hear the bass of his guitars going, or the thump of the drums. So it's not the best place for recording, really. But on the quiet day, sometimes I've got a friend that's a singer, and I'll get them to do vocals or that kind of stuff. I'll get them to come in or whatever. And do my best.
but it's great that you do have a harp and a cello in your room. I'm actually very impressed.
Yeah, it's
cool.
Amazing. The harp is much better than the cello. The cello, I made the mistake of buying cheaply, so so you've got all of the problems that come with a cheap instrument. But the harp, yeah, it's very nice. Japanese Celtic harp. What more could you ask for?
So have any of you got as far as having a defining moment so far in your careers? Something that's sort of really changed you or made you think in a new way? Or
I'd say for me, not so much a defining moment, but a defining year, which was when I did my master's in Edinburgh. But at the same time, I was being mentored by the conductor Cecilia Weston. She's Craig Armstrong's conductor on most films, and I was conducting the Edinburgh Film Music Orchestra at the same year, and then I did 2 films that year too. So it was like the most intense year, but you know, it kind of I proved to myself that I can actually get through that, and you know, that was it.
I'm not sure it's necessarily a defining moment, or as you say, probably a defining year, but the whole process of being on the BAFTA film crew this year has been really beneficial, even if it's been a bit stunted, you know, with in-person events and networking. The level of involvement that you can feel in terms of the industry, just learning about roles which you just never learn about with dealing with just producers or directors, but you learn about everyone and you hear their day-to-day challenges, and then and also quite nice getting to go to the film awards this year as well. It was not exactly a huge event for, you know, career development, but it was nice, good to go along.
Ellie.
I think a career-defining moment so far. Luckily enough, at university, I've been able to meet different filmmakers. So I think definitely working on a project even which was shown at a local cinema was definitely kind of like a development for me as a composer. Just seeing from a different environment how the whole thing goes together. I think, that was the one for me.
So last couple of months really, I've been working on a research thing, so it's just to do with academic stuff, all academic stuff. A professor from where's he from? Edinburgh, that's it. He helped me along with my research, which was about researching for a brief. Quite a basic subject really, but quite interesting. And so he asked me, he said, why don't you just go find a few composers, ask them a few questions and see what you can find out, and then write about that. So I took him up on that, and just talking to those few composers, they've opened up my eyes on how much they consider the brief, what areas they do, and the kind of experiences they've got, like where sometimes they would go directly against a brief because it would work better in the spirit of the director's vision, and it worked, and they loved it, and stories of nightmares and all sorts. You get to learn loads, but yeah, so that's kind of opened up my eyes to the industry really.
Be bold. That's good. Be bold. So moving on a bit, what made you decide to apply to be on our youth council? What gets you worked up enough to get involved in this? Who wants to take that, Jake? Or Ellie?
It's oh, sorry, go on. Who's sorry?
No, you go.
That's all right.
You go.
The delay between people pressing their button and your light coming on is, who's better?
Yeah.
You go, then.
You go ahead. Oh, okay, fine, I'll do it. Why? Okay, so my mom's very into sort of the equality, campaigning for equality in her workplace, and so I've kind of been inspired by her, and I can see that there are issues in the media music industry that I would like to at least have an impact on in any way, in a small way, in a big way. That's it really, yeah, just to make a change, yes, and up equality.
I think to help bridge the gap between composers who have just left university or wherever wanting to become a film composer to becoming a professional composer, because there's still such a big gap between being an emerging to being a professional, and It's hard. When I left university, I was in a bit of a wandering stage. I was like, okay, I could go this way, I could go that way, because there's so many ways you can become a film composer, which is good. But in a sense, you can become lost and a wanderer, and that's what I was for a time. So I think that's why I came across Ivors Academy, and I thought, okay, this is good. If it's a way in which we can help young composers to find their way to become emerging composers and then professional composers, then yeah, that's important for sure.
I feel that as well, by the way. I coming out of college, it was like, I was an aspiring composer, but now I actually have to be one, and that was a very difficult place. Very difficult place.
Mm.
I think for me, it's been the current situation with just generally the lack of support really for, I mean, generally young people, but also young people in this kind of industry. And I suppose I was one of the people who, at least for a while, just fell through the cracks for any kind of support really. It was a really stressful time, but knowing that there were so many others like me at the same time encouraged me, but made me think this is awful. I mean, we're going to lose a whole generation of artists and music creators if we're not careful, and if we don't pull together our knowledge and resources and try and help one another in whatever way we can. I think that was, and particularly as well for me, because I do have mobility problems. I do consider myself disabled. And of course, disabled people as well is the added difficulty of trying to make it at the beginning of your career without overworking yourself is hard enough for anyone, especially at the moment, but also especially for people with disabilities that need to be considered when they plan out their lives and how they're going to get going in this industry.
Great answer, Tom. And then I'm going to hand back to Wesley.
Okay, so yeah, what really wakes me up at the moment is the online broadcasting. So things like YouTube, on Vimeo. Why are we not getting royalties for this? Why are we not going to be able to get royalties in the future? Why is this not a thing? Because that's the way a lot of it seems to be going, is to online videos at the moment. Cinemas seem to be struggling a little bit to try and keep them in the cinemas. So we could potentially in the future be losing out on serious revenue.
Yeah,
That's one of the issues I feel very strongly about as well, Tom. But I think we can actually, like, in our lifetime, we can definitely see that, like, because it's even with live things like Twitch, live streaming, people are playing music, and there's no way to track that music. But there's the new technology, blockchain technology, which you probably heard of Bitcoin and whatnot. But blockchain technology is not just currency, but it can also enable us to actually put an IP sort of print on each track so that they can be tracked, and fair revenues will be paid to artists. But it's a case of Spotify. We need to kind of shift people from that platform to another, a blockchain-based platform, I think. So anyway, here's hoping that's solved soon.
It's all about the metadata. Wesley.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, guys. That's been really fantastic and fascinating to get to know you a little bit better and hear about your careers, your thoughts, your ideas, and listening to your music too. Apologies for my technical problems once again. I was like vanished and now I'm back again. I just want to step in at this moment, as I'm doing now, just to plug our own Ivors Academy Youth Network, as you are all a part of that, and the Network Council itself. For those who are new to the Network Presents webinar series, I want to give you a quick explanation about the Ivors Academy Youth Network, and just in case you didn't know. The Ivors Academy Youth Network is our initiative to engage with the UK's community of young creators with events and music industry advice. The network helps to connect young creators working in various music genres to build a strong community. The Youth Network is also a hub of partnerships with universities, colleges, and other non-academic organisations to further empower and educate young music creators. Through our Youth Network Council, there's the direct opportunity for young creators to express their unique concerns and experiences of starting out in our industry and have a voice, and have their voice listened to and heard right at the top of the Ivors Academy at board level. One of our youth network key supporters is the Ivors Academy Trust. The Academy Trust underpins the youth network program of events and projects and helps us to engage and support a wide range of emerging young creators. The Trust is also instrumental in assisting with issues of access to the youth network and our other learning and educational initiatives. The Trust now offers bursaries for educational engagement and helps remove financial barriers to participation. A recent development with the Ivors Academy Trust has seen the Ivors Academy, together with Help Musicians, launch a new mentoring scheme for emerging music creators. And this scheme will start in September this year. The program will match 50 mentees and 50 mentors within the Ivors Academy's membership and without the Ivors Academy membership to the wider music industry. Applications are now open and they actually close tonight at midnight. So if Tarek, if you could add those details to the chat box for anybody who is on this call today who wants to apply. And if you're listening and you want to join the youth network yourself as an individual, a partner organisation or an affiliate organisation, please contact me at wesley@ivorsacademy.com. Now, I do want to open for some questions. There's one question that I've had for Mark, actually, and it's from Simon Relton. And it says, there are a number of VST orchestras around, and most of them are very expensive. What do you recommend?
Oh, it's a very difficult one. I mean, obviously Spitfire is probably pretty much top of the game at the moment, but you can start very well actually with one of the cut down libraries that they do. They're not that expensive to get into for these sort of taster libraries, and they're a really good place to start for for orchestration and for mocking things up. And that's where I would start, with one of the smaller kits, and then build up as and when you can. And if you've got VSTs with synths, you can do what we were talking about earlier. You can use a lot of synths to bulk up your textures while having quite a small orchestral palette and still get a very good sound. And that will really, as well, test you on your orchestration skills, because that's what it all comes down to. Basics is making a sound and learning how different instruments and different textures go together to create a sound. So I think I would start small and work up. You don't need to spend, 2,000 on a massive library to start with. You can spend 50 to 100 quid and get a perfectly good set of sounds, which will enable you to start out, and that's absolutely what I would do.
Cool, thank you. Simon actually goes on to say, particularly one that could be used with band instruments as well as just orchestras alone. I don't know if your answer deviates from that at all.
Well, I mean, by band instruments, does he mean rock band instruments or brass band instruments, or? But again, it's all down to what kind of music you're doing, and I would go on to Spitfire, and I would look at some of their demos and just pick a basic package which gets you going. They're not the only one. I mean, but Vienna's very expensive. But there are, or if you've bought Logic, there's a fantastic collection of instruments in there. So just start with that. I mean, seriously. Or if you can afford something like, Native Instruments Complete or something, that comes with a whole package of stuff. And although it's not cheap, it's actually very cost effective if you start making use of it. So, there are a number of different routes you can go down. But as ever, start small. Don't think you've got to spend a lot of money to make a sound, because you haven't.
Yeah. I have a few questions for myself, for the whole group of you. I'm just curious, I know, Joe, you mentioned about your experience about lockdown at the moment. What's the others' experience of coming through this curious pandemic and lockdown? If I could start with you, Ellie, first.
Yeah. Do you mean how I'm experiencing lockdown?
Yeah, or how's it affecting your work, or your inspirations, or?
I think I've become a little bit more creative only because I have nothing else to do because of lockdown. So you're kind of like put in this little bubble in a sense.
Yeah.
So I've just kind of not just been composing, but reading, like developing skills, whether that be kind of orchestration or learning something new like jazz, harmony, and everything like that. So I've been using this time to just not only compose but develop skills as well. So
Right.
I think that's what I've been doing. Yeah.
Cool. Jake?
Yeah, same as for me, it's really been writing music for music's sake, which is something I don't do often, because when I'm not writing for film, I'm working in my production company. So it's been great, really. The world stopping has been a pretty good situation for me personally. That's it, really. How about you, Tom?
I think Wesley's frozen. Have you frozen, Wes?
Yeah, I think he's gone.
I think Wesley's frozen again.
Yeah. Yeah, it hasn't really changed for me. I've just been kept going, really, teaching in the evenings and then composing in the daytime, doing my coursework. So, yeah, nothing's really changed.
Are you in college still, Tom? Are you trying to balance all of that as well?
Yeah. So I'm still studying with ThinkSpace. So that's probably why all of yours sound so much better. My goodness. No. Okay. All right.
Yours sounds awesome.
All of them sounded. Yours sounded really good as well, for sure.
Okay.
Everyone's did.
I'll have to take your word for it.
There's a really good variety of stuff then. I was impressed with all of them. They were really great variety. You know.
Yeah, if only Zoom didn't compress the crap out of it. But yeah, me and Tom were having a laugh in the private chat there about the compression. But yeah, geez, it's been good to get to know you guys as well on a musical level too. So and hear your clips and.
So Joe, how are you coping with lockdown?
Yeah.
Collaborate or?
Oh, me.
Yeah, go on, Joe.
Listen, I've been getting into sampling, getting into audio sampling. I've been trying to develop a website for women and other marginalised genders to sort of promote their work in sampling, and I've been trying to do it a bit myself, and yeah, been getting the word out about that. And I've been writing an EP for solo trombone music because I play trombone, and that's going to be recorded on Saturday. Actually, I'm going to be recording that at Abbey Road, actually, but that was a bit of a scoop. I don't know.
That's cool.
Let's start small, you know.
Well, you know, I managed to get in, just noticed one of the students on the Abbey Road Institute was asking for people to come in and do some recording in one of the small studios, and I thought, hey, please.
Spot an opportunity, dive straight in. That's what it's all about. It's great. Yeah, I've just found this whole experience utterly bizarre. And, you know, I used to get out to meetings once a week just to get myself out of this studio. And now, of course, I'm locked in the studio for longer doing Zooms. So it's been a very, very strange time, I think, to try and be a part of this industry. But, and, you know, I really, you know, there was that thing went up on the Twitter from the government the other day, you know, go out and enjoy yourself safely again. You think, well, not in my industry, you can't. You know, all the theatres are shut, all the festivals are off, nobody's doing concerts. So what we're all doing is, I think, sitting in our studios trying to make ourselves better, so that when we come out of this, we've got something to do.
I think looks like we're going to try and end now.
Well, I don't know.
That's
Ayres in the chat.
The Ivors Academy, to all panelists, thanks, guys. We'll all say goodbye. Right, there we go. Okay, thank you very much for everyone coming along. It looks like we're out of time, and technical little glitches have not totally ruined the experience, but it's been great fun. Thank you so much for joining in with us, and thank you so much for taking part in this conversation this afternoon.
Mark, it's been a pleasure. Thanks a million.
Nice to meet you.
And you. There we go.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Brilliant music.
Right.
Thank you very much, gang.
See you.
Cheers. Bye.